Much to report from LSU camp. Let's get right to it here at the Voice of College Football with Lon Phillips Sullivan. You can catch him and the rest of the crew there. LSU Odyssey, doing a bang-up job covering LSU football. If you're a Tigers fan, if you cover anybody, want to get the breakdown of the elite brands across college football, even if you're not an LSU fan, check out Lon's work at LSU Odyssey. Lon, how are we doing tonight?
Doing chipper, Mark. How about you, my man?
I'm good. Ready to hear about the BAYOU Bengals getting ready for a September 4th date at the Rose Bowl against UCLA. But first, we got to hear about who's going to be on the field and who may not in regards to injuries.
Yeah, Mark, LSU's getting snake bitten right now. Something I said a few days ago, I felt like LSU injuries, the injury list was just starting to pile up a bit. And I was feeling a little uncomfortable. Dwight McLaughlin had gone down. Since the last time we talked, of course, Miles Brennan went down, breaking his humerus, needing surgery, out for most of the season foreseeably, if not the entire year. And, making Max Johnson the de facto starting quarterback of this team. Already right there, you have one definitive big shift due to an injury. Dwight McLaughlin would have been the swing man behind Derek Stingley Jr. and Eli Ricks. Now he's out with an ankle sprain. No word if it's a high ankle sprain or what severity level it is. I have it rated at a 7 out of 10 severity level because it's just this guy is so important. He could step in and be a starter right now for either of those guys, Ricks or Stingley, and I would feel 100% comfortable in his abilities. He's definitely made some strides too in the offseason, but he goes down with an ankle sprain. Ollie Gay was wearing a gold jersey for quite some time. It seemed like he had some type of, back or forearm injury. I kept hearing different things. It seemed like no one really wanted you to know what his injury was, so I just kind of backed off it and just put a question mark. He was a monster today in the scrimmage, so no worries about him. Ty Davis Price was also out of the scrimmage, but his injury was very minor. We've been told it is nothing to worry, just something he felt. It wasn't really something that happened to him. Very precautionary with Ty Davis Price as well. Glenn Logan, though, broken bone in his foot, Mark. He's going to miss some time. As Orgeron said, miss a while. Very worried about Glenn Logan there. Broken bone in his foot. It looks like he may miss at least the first month and a half of the season. It would be a great thing if he came back sooner. But it looks like he's going to be out for that time, Mark.
Folks, please like the video, share the videos out on social media, and subscribe here at the Voice of College Football. We got Lon Phillips Sullivan on the line covering LSU. And, of course, September 4th is the date against UCLA at the Rose Bowl. As you mentioned, Lon, scrimmage on Saturday. They've been in camp for a couple of weeks. Your thoughts about where things stand right now in regards to position battles, guys emerging to take up spots. What is the latest? What has caught your eye?
Having Eli Ricks and Derek Stingley both out with some type of minor injuries, that's kind of troubling there too. So having Darren Evans and Lloyd Cole as your starting corners in the scrimmage and during practices is not ideal whatsoever. We do have a guy like Ray Darius Jones who could also fill in at corner, but when you have the number 1 and number 2 cornerbacks in America both out with some very minor but kind of worrisome injuries, it does get worrisome. Eli Ricks, he's going to be out until next week, some type of limited capacity for him, but he will be back according to Coach Ed Orgeron. But there's just he said Derek Stingley Jr. is going to need more time than he first thought. So that's another just big worrying sign. But it's just aside from the injuries, what really excites me about LSU coming into this year is just they're full throttle, man. The receivers, unbelievable top to bottom, because you have this group of veterans. Of course, you got Kayshon Boutte, the number 1 guy. I'm just move him to the side. He's going to win the Biletnikoff this year. But behind him, you've got a group of veterans: Jeray Jenkins, John Trey Kirkland, Trey Palmer, And they're going to be battling against these new freshmen: Brian Thomas Jr., Chris Hilton Jr., um, Deion Smith, Jack Besh. He's probably going to be playing more tight end, but he is also, I feel, a receiver. Should be considered as one of these as well. I call them the freshman five. But Malik Neighbors, you can also throw in there. This group is unbelievable. Coach Ed Orgeron cannot stop singing their praises. Neither could Kayshon Boutte. Brian Thomas caught 3 touchdowns, 2 of them on Eli Ricks in the other practice. He was torching guys. He was torching LSU's best DBs out there. Chris Hilton Jr. has unbelievable track elite speed, Mark. He's an absolute freak athletically. Deion Smith, he's just one of those great overall pass-catching receivers, a great, just physical dude as well. Malik Neighbors, I've just heard he's just a hard-nosed football player, but he caught more touchdowns than all of those guys in the state of Louisiana in 2019. So these freshmen are elite, Mark. And it's gonna bring out the best out of those veteran receivers as well. You move over to running back, it's gonna do the same thing right there. Ty Davis Price and John Emery Jr. expected to be the guys, but when you see Corey Kiner stiff arming Todd Harris, the senior, to the ground, a freshman just stiff arming this guy to the ground, rejecting him, unbelievable play right there. It sends a message. When you got Corey Kiner jumping over people, Mark, jumping over defenders in practice, just like he did in high school. These are LSU defenders with SEC speed, and he's jumping over them. When you got Armani Goodwin, who's coming in day one already with that body, that running back SEC body, that's a very loaded position as well. People call it a weakness. I don't at all. We got some battering rams, we got some speedsters, we got some burners, and then I think Ty Davis Price is the number one guy, but there is more than enough help, and these guys have been practicing a lot of the catching out of the backfield under Jake Peetz. So we're going to see these guys being used in a lot of different sets. If they cannot be motioned out wide, they will not be on the field, Mark. Trust me on that. So you will see these players be put into, especially these running backs, be put into a lot of different sets than they're used to. The offense, I think, is going to put up a lot of points. The defense, Mark, I'm just hearing that they're winning most of these scrimmages, most of these situational practices. I'm hearing this defense led by Durante Jones, they're kicking ass and taking names. And there's a lot of guys across the board who are there, who are ready to play. The linebackers are mostly filled by some of these veterans. You're going to see Jared Small making some plays out there. He was a former walk-on. Now you're going to see him taking that mantle like 4.5 years into his career here at LSU. You're going to see a lot of these different stories at linebacker, kind of some veteran guys. Mike Jones Jr. is definitely in the mix. But Micah Baskerville coming into his own as well, had an interception on Max Johnson in a practice the other day. There's a lot of different dudes at this linebacker position, but it's, I think, mostly a veteran-led group. Damone Clark, who knows if he'll be able to start, to find a way onto the field beyond Devontae Strong, Jared Small, Mike Jones Jr. It's a very good group there, the linebackers. I think they're going to provide some vicious brutality there over the middle, Mark. Of course, the defensive line, you put out that video. We've talked about it. You know how much I love this defensive line. I think they're almost 8 deep. I think they are about 8 or 9 deep at the defensive tackle position alone. I think you're going to see more interior guys getting sacks, getting tackles for loss, Mark, than you'll ever see before at an LSU defense. You're going to see a lot of these edge rushers getting that attention, forcing those double teams. And you're going to see these defensive tackles who were never athletic enough to take advantage of that space, take advantage enough of that, just that little bit of time to get through those guys, to go straight at the quarterback. We got the defensive tackles who have that physicality, the athleticism to do that, to take advantage of the great edge rushers and the attention they will receive. You got Andre Anthony, B.J. Ojolari, Ali Gay, Savion Jones, Landon Jackson, Bryce Langston, all on the outside. They're going to totally attract that attention. They may not end the season with 10-plus sacks, all these edge rushers. But watch for the interior guys like Mason Smith, Neil Farrell, the injured, but hopefully he'll come back, Glenn Logan, Joseph Evans, who Coach Ed Orgeron just absolutely loves this guy. Cannot stop talking about him. There's a ton of talent on this defensive tackle. Jacobian Guillory, and then who I think is the number one guy among them, Jaquelin Roy, who had 2 sacks versus Florida last year. This is an elite defensive tackle group, Mark, full of a bunch of different profiles across the board. I think you're going to see a lot of these interior guys picking up more sacks than the edge rushers. It's going to be a great thing to watch. But, as for everything with the safety position, Mark, Jay Ward's penciled in there as that starting free safety. Who's going to be his partner? I've got an answer for you, Mark. Everyone's always wondering, is it Todd Harris? Is it going to be Jordan Tolles? No, it's going to be Major Burns, who had yet another interception today in a scrimmage. He had an unbelievably delicious one-handed Randy Moss-esque interception where he reached clear back and ripped the thing out of the sky, Mark. It was an unbelievable interception. Today he had yet another interception. I don't think it was one-handed, but a former Tiger on the sidelines there to witness the scrimmage, closed scrimmage to the media, of course, he told me Major Burns had yet another INT. But as for everything with this team, the special teams are also going to deliver as well. Peyton Todd is going to be that punter, but we also have Avery Atkins, the place kicker, who could take that role over if Peyton Todd has any issues. But I do believe in the number one punter of 2021 coming in as a freshman and taking over Zach Von Rosenberg's role with a ton of sauce. Kicker, we have the best kicker in America, Mark. Cade York hit 6 field goals over 50 yards last year. Okay, second-year guy. He had clutch field goals as a freshman against Clemson, against Georgia. Unbelievable kicker, Cade York. Best special teams unit possibly in the nation if we can pick up with the punter where we're at last year with Zach Von Rosenberger. But, across the board, Mark, a lot of talent, a lot of unproven names, but a lot of depth. So if the first guy can't get the job done, there's always another option. That's the thing with this LSU team. It's about coaches having the stones to be able to make the changes, make the adjustments when they need to, and be able to find the most cohesive offensive line, of course, that we can get. Because the offensive line for me is probably the biggest worry.
Look at that, Lon. This is our merchandise line here at the Voice of College Football. So go to voiceofcollegefootball.com. You go to the top of the screen, folks. You find the store and you pick your favorite team or you pick your line of merchandise. And there you go, LSU fans. We got our LSU merch available right there. And Lon, if we're going way back in the conversation, I heard, and we've got it on record here, you've got a Biletnikoff Award prediction.
Yep, Kayshon Boutte.
Okay.
He will win the Biletnikoff. If nothing gets in his way, injury-wise or some other type of crap like that, where he's obviously the number one receiver. No one's going to take that role from him. He simply has the best yards after catch ability in college football. Right. No one is there to stand in his way.
You might be the only one who thinks he's the number one receiver in college football. I don't know. I'm not saying he's not going to win the Biletnikoff Award, but I'm just saying that he's not number one without a doubt. Like I think there's an argument there. Got Lon Philip Sullivan on the line, LSU Odyssey. We're also going to look at recruiting here. 3rd-rated class in the SEC, number 6 in the country, 15 hard commits for 2022, and hopefully a trio that may make decisions here fairly soon.
We'll see. It could take up into, some school visits, some game visits into the fall. Every recruit's going to want to take that opportunity to be able to see games. That's why I think you'll see some decisions staved off for at least a game or two this year. Kendrick Law, I really believe in this guy. He could play 3 different positions: running back, receiver, or actually, I should say 4, corner or safety. He is that versatile, Mark, out of Captain Shrevey and Captain Shreveport. Um, sorry, out of Captain Shrevey in Shreveport, Louisiana. He's an unbelievable talent. Very versatile. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Derek Stingley Jr. I hate to make that comparison, but just the possibility of being able to play so many different positions with such panache. Kendrick Law, he's that guy. I believe probably 7.5 out of 10, certainly bordering on 8, that Kendrick Law will commit to LSU. When, we'll see about that. There might be some hijinks before then. His stock might just skyrocket this season after a game or two, which is why hopefully we can get him to commit. But we'll see about that. Kendrick Law, though, top-tier talent, top-tier character, top-tier young man.
Okay. Is that the rundown on the recruiting side?
Oh, yeah. Julian Armaya.
Excellent.
I forgot about him. His name involved in there as well. Julian Armaya. I believe there's 2 teams in this race. Seriously. Florida State and LSU. His father did go to Florida State. He is a Florida State legacy. But his father also has a real close relationship with Coach Ed Orgeron. His father was recruited heavily by Coach Ed Orgeron. Enzo, in the end, of course, chose rest in peace, Coach Bowden's Florida State University over University of Miami. But Coach Ed Orgeron, I believe, has done enough to hopefully win over the family. We'll see. I think Julian Armaya, though, will commit to LSU in the end. That's just a prediction, but
Lon, we appreciate you stopping by. We know you're psyched about football back on the field here in just a couple of weeks. And again, the clash is going to be difficult to match when you talk about LSU and UCLA, and especially the site at the Rose Bowl. Should be an intriguing one, no doubt. Lon, we appreciate it as always, and hopefully you'll come back soon.
Absolutely, Mark. Thank you very much for having me on. Go Tigers.